Hi everyone, my name is Emily. I'm a software engineering intern here at HashiCorp, and I am working on the releases engineering team. So today I'm super happy to share with you the work that folks on the releases engineering team are doing, and we are building a new releases API service to track and manage release metadata on the HashiCorp releases site, with the goal of providing more information about specific releases to the user while still maintaining external workflows. So to give a bit of context to the problem space we wanted to address with this service, I'll show you the existing structure of the current releases site and the internal HC releases binary that is responsible for building all the data on the current site. So the current releases site contains static HTML and JSON release metadata built by our internal HC releases binary. And these pages are very minimalistic. They only really provide links to product downloads and SHA sums, which is okay for people who are simply grabbing these downloads through scripts, but it leaves those who are searching for other relevant information such as change logs, release notes, license information, searching in different places to get that information. So I'll just show you what the current releases site looks like. So this is an example of the latest release from Boundary. And as you can see here, there's really only the SHA sums and the downloads, which is not a super comprehensive set of data for this particular release. So we're building something to fix that. So let's explore a bit about the future of the releases site. So two key objectives that we want to hit with our solution is to create a solution to simplify the life of the user by providing a single source of truth for relevant release metadata and gather all of the relevant information about a particular release in one location. We also want to do this while maintaining external workflows, so the user doesn't really have to change anything that they're doing. So now that you've learned a bit more about the problem and our objectives, let's talk about solutions. So some possible solutions, the obvious one would just be to add this additional information about releases that we want to provide to the current HC releases site and keep the existing structure. However, this would require a lot of back-end work in terms of how we go about validating this new metadata for each release and publishing that to production. So instead, we opted to use an API, which allows us to control that workflow and implement it a bit easier. So let's talk about the benefits of implementing this new releases API. I'm going to be a bit selfish for a few minutes and talk about the key benefits that it provides the releases engineering team and other internal users. So it really gives us three key benefits. The first is that it gives us a lot of flexibility with implementing specific internal processes around how we go about validating releases and then eventually publishing them. So if we have a releases API, we can run a different service a different instance for each environment. So we can have a staging environment wherein releases are validated and they might never be published, right? We can put nightly builds on this. We can put releases that we intend to publish in this environment and they can be validated. Then we can have another environment with a different instance of the service, which is production, and that can provide all of the release metadata for any user to grab. The second key benefit of implementing a release API for internal use is the ease of implementing our internal authentication and authorization flows. So using an API, we can easily implement auth flows for internal users who are creating and updating new releases. And then we can also implement auth flows pretty easily for machines who are simply running automated tasks. The third and final key benefit for us for creating a new releases API is that it provides easy logging support, audit logging support. So we can easily implement audit logging so we know when a release is either created or updated. We know what the event was, who triggered the event, when it was triggered, and the status of the event. And this just increases our security posture and provides super transparent logging. So I'll talk a bit about the current internal API workflow, just if you're curious. So every time that someone creates a release, that would be posted to the new releases API service. And then it would go through a staging process. And then when it's published, it would be updated in that releases API service. But enough about the benefits for the releases engineering team and internal users. Let's talk about what this new releases API can do for everyone. So there are two really convenient points that will hopefully make everybody's life just a bit easier. And those two convenient points happen to align with the objectives. So obviously it achieves the initial objective of providing all of that handy information about releases in one convenient location, so folks don't have to spend time and effort searching for that information elsewhere. And then second, it maintains external workflows, which is super handy because it makes the adoption of this new API service super easy. You don't even have to think about switching over to the new API service. All of that is handled for you. Your workflows don't have to change. And I'll go over the mechanics about how we maintain workflows a bit later, but for now, let's take a sneak peek at what you might expect in terms of information provided by the new releases API. So here's an example of a GET request for a latest product version. Keep in mind that all of the information that will be provided isn't shown on the screen here. This is just an example. This is a subset of information that would be provided by a GET request. But as you can see, it's already much more comprehensive than what exists on the current HC releases site. So on the current HC releases site, we have builds and SHA-SUMs only. But as you can see here, that there's lots of information like useful URLs to blog posts, change logs. There's useful information about when it was created, when it was updated, license class, stuff like that, all provided one convenient location. Okay, let's talk about the other huge benefit of implementing an API, and that is maintaining external workflows. And this is achieved using rewrites. So if we're planning to deploy the new API service to a new site altogether, this still won't break your current workflows. Users can actually use the same URLs that they've always used, but receive web pages served by the new releases API, and this is achieved through rewrites. So if you just take a look at the diagram, and if we start on the bottom left-hand corner, you can see that users are sending a GET request to the old HashiCorp releases site. This is then rewritten by a CDN to become a GET request to the new releases API service. Now the new releases API service will have a GET endpoint that serves this old static HTML and JSON metadata, and it will give the user back the exact same information that they requested originally. It'll give them the exact same expected HTML or JSON data, but it'll just be served by the new releases API. And the huge advantage of this is obviously you don't have to change anything. You don't have to change your script. You don't have to change your workflows. Everything is maintained. It's just being served by our new API. And that helps us because it eliminates any race conditions for folks who are trying to update releases at the same time. And for you, it's helpful because you don't have to change anything. So additionally, it's useful for the user because they really won't notice the difference. Instead of doing redirects where the user might say, hey, why is the URL changing? We're doing rewrites because that's a server-side implementation and the user has no idea what's going on behind the scenes, but the release is the same release that they expect is still being served. So that's the huge advantage of using a new releases API, is that external workflows are still maintained. So thank you for listening to me speak about the new releases API service. We're super excited and hopefully you can try it out soon. Thank you.